All right, so we were learning Torah Aleph from the Likutei Moharan. We had already 2 shiurim, just to catch up, basically, what the Rabbi was saying, to go into the ending and to hopefully finish the Torah tonight. So, Nachman was saying that through Torah, through learning Torah, all your tefillas are niskabel. Very interesting way of understanding things. And he explains that there's something called seichel, Bechinas Yaakov, let's say, which is an or, which is like the sun. And that seichel is very, very powerful. It illuminates everything in life. However, in order to get to that, you have to have Malchus de Kedusha, as he explains. There's Malchus Harsha, and there's Malchus Kedusha. So the Malchus Harsha is just whatever it sees, that's what it wants, and that's what it takes, and that's what is. The surface of everything is what is, and therefore he's going to lead his life just like that. Whatever he feels like at this particular moment and he sees as being the truth of this second based on the surface of everything, that's what he takes. That's Malchus Harsha. But Malchus the Kedusha is that he wants to see the Seichel Sheish B'chol Davar. He wants to see that there is more to what's happening. Everything that is just the surface of something that's deeper. And he's always seeking for something deeper. He says, how do you give koyach to that Malchus of Kedusha? He says, through learning Torah b'koyach. Through learning Torah strongly, like we said in the other shiurim, maybe it means just with power, with energy. It also could mean that you learn it slowly and clearly so that you understand it well. But either way, he says that these two ideas of learning Torah b'koyach and the seichel are the ches and the nun. The nun is the learning Torah b'koyach. It's the malchus, as he explains, and the ches is the chiyus, is the seichel. And he says that when you have both of these things together, they create chen. Ches and nun together is chen. So what does that do? So he says that as the missing ingredient for why our tefillas are not necessarily answered sometimes. When we daven to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, or when we ask anyone for something, so if his heart is open, so to speak, so then it goes right into his heart, and then he's like, yes, I'll do whatever you want. If his heart is closed, so then, you get faced with plenty of collectors here in Scheiners every day, and some people just say things, and you're like, I want to give this person money, and then other people are like, and you're like, no, I don't want to give money. It's a matter of when and where your heart opens. So the Rebbe says that when you have this ches and this nun, you learn Torah b'koyach, and therefore your malchus, all of your kingship is connected to ches, the chiyus, then all of a sudden everything opens up, and then because you have the chen, when you come to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, you have chen, you're asking so beautifully, everything just opens up in HaKadosh Baruch Hu's heart. It's nechkak, it's like almost engraving a place in Hashem's heart. And then divrei chachamim nachas nishmoim, nachas is the nun and the ches together. With the tav, he said was a hakika, was like a svisa tav. It was a lashon in Navi of engraving. So he says that in nachas then engraves, basically the chen engraves into HaKadosh Baruch Hu, so to speak, and all of your tefillos are answered. So let's go to the end of the Torah. There are not so many markers here, but it's the beginning of a paragraph. It says, V'al Kein Yaakov. By me, it's like the 4th paragraph. V'al Kein Yaakov shebechinas haseichel. In the beginning of the Torah, he said that Yaakov is the bechayra, is the reishis chachma, is this inyan of seichel, which is a very tremendous light. Al Kein zocha l'chein. Therefore, he was zocha l'chein. Here, now the Rebbe is going to seemingly go through some proof texts, and then a Gemara from Rabbi Baruch, and then back to the pasuk in the beginning of the Torah. But we're going to see that there's additions, and each time the Rebbe speaks about these things, he kind of tweaks and adds certain elements, which if you delve more deeply, then you can find more and more. Al Kein Zach Lechein, therefore he was Zach Lechein, K'mashikasa Ki Chanani Elikim. Yaakov says, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave me Chen. He gave me the gift of Chen. And this makes sense, right? Why Yaakov would be Zechre Chen, because Yaakov is the element of Seichel, but he's not just the element of Seichel Stam, he's the element of Seichel that's accessible, meaning the Rebbe said over here that Seichel is something that's very powerful. It's like an or, but the or is too bright. But the tzaddikim, they take the nun, and they take the malchus, they take the Torah, and they learn it strong, powerfully, and therefore they're able to connect to it, to connect to the chiyas. Therefore, since Yaakov was the aspect of this person that had chen, he was able to bless his kids with chen. That when Esav, and this was a lot of these psukim now that we're going to speak about are when Esav was coming after Yaakov, and Esav says, well, all these people, you have this huge camp, we left, you were just alone, and now a couple of years later you're this huge camp. He says, these are the children that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was chanan, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was graced me. And Kamuvan, it's not so clear over here because it says that he berach hazashvatim lechein. Kamuvan, that Yaakov Avinu gave the blessing of chen, and therefore Yaakov Avinu, when he was expressing who these people were, to Esav, he said, these are the ones that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that I've been blessed with chen, and I've blessed them with chen. Uvinyamin lo hayaz, Binyamin was not there because he was not yet born. Therefore, his brother Yosef gave him the bracha of Klein. Many years later, Yosef met Binyamin. He said, HaKadosh Baruch Hu should give you yachnecha, he should give you chen, grace. So it's interesting that of all brachas, that's what he gave him, because that's what he's saying over here, that the whole idea is that Yaakov is the element of chen, because he has both the malchus, the kedusha, the Torah, b'koyach, and the tefillah, and he was blessing all his children with this. Now, if all of his children got it, so why was Yosef the one to give Binyamin the bracha? Because Davka Yosef had more of the strength of this chen. Yosef was more inclusive of who Yaakov was. That's not the literal way of touching up the pasuk. Usually you put the comma over there, Ilatolis Yaakov, comma, Yosef, so to speak, so on and so forth. But the Zohar and many other Mefarshim explain Ilatolis Yaakov Yosef. Yaakov was Yosef. The full Masira of the giving over of the tradition was given to Yosef. They were mamish like one. In the end of Devarim, when we hear the brachas of the Shvatim, B'chor shoyroi hadalai, which literally means like a majestic shar was, how do you type it, like a firstborn shar in his majesty. But the Rebbe is going to take apart the pasuk and show how it refers to what he was saying. B'chor u'b'chinas ha-seichel. B'chor is the aspect of seichel. We said Reishis Chachma. Zeu shoyroi was shayches to a shar. Lashon istaklis, ali shur, to gaze, is a lashon of istaklis. Shur, shoyrei over here could be to istaklis. Kitzichin istakel ba'aseichel sheish b'chol davar. You have to gaze, to look at the seichel sheish b'chol davar. V'zeu hadarlai, what does that have to do with anything? Tergemunklis zivlei. Zivlei is like a shine. Lashon or, lashon of light. Ki ha-seichel me'erloi b'chol davar. The seichel illuminates it for the person in every single way. Afilu b'makam she'o oifel v'chayshech, even in a place where it's very, very dark, or it was dark. Me'erloi ha-seichel. The seichel illuminates it. K'shezoichel istakel ha-seichel she'esham b'chol davar. When you're zoichel to see what it is, the seichel, makar v'yisrael Hashem yisbarach, and then to come close to Hashem through that seichel. It's interesting that a lashon of histakel. Rabbi uses again and again this lashon of histakel, to gaze, to look. So a lot of times we have the lashon of histaklus by Arias, and we're back bad things. So what is histaklus? Histaklus it means to gaze. It almost means to stare. Like we say, don't stare at the ladies. Like don't be mistakel there. What is it that someone's steering? Like, why would anyone steer? You look at what you want to look at, what you're supposed to look at. But then something catches your eye, an advertisement, a person, or this or that. There's something happening there. Wow, you all of a sudden you stare at it. Like sometimes someone's steering at another person because it's something mishuneh. So the Rebbe is saying over here is that Hashem is everywhere. Hashem is in every single thing and every single moment that we are in. So therefore we have to mamish steer at the existence that we're going through. Stare at everything that you're looking at, and look at it with the eyes of wonder that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is right now in a conversation, in an embrace with me, and whatever's happening right now, and to just give that histaklus to look and to realize everything that's happening over here is from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's unbelievable. It just struck me once that we say, the earth is filled with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Maloi, it's filled. And it struck me once that Maloi is mi-loi, from not. It has the word not, like no. It sounds interesting that the word to represent HaKadosh Baruch Hu fills all of earth is loi, no. So then I thought about it deeper, and mi-loi is taka exactly how we could understand it. We go along life, and things flow. The light turns green, we go through it. We got a good parking spot in the front of Scheiner, not across the street. Geschmack, everything's going, Valdig. Or we park in the rabbi spot. So whatever it is, we go and things are flowing okay. And we say, Hashem, thank you, Hashem, it's beautiful, Valdig, amazing. But to the deepest depths, maybe we're not 1,000% sure that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there. Things are rolling, things are good, things are working out. Then all of a sudden we hit something. I was just now, kids, I was like, okay, we'll make the first barbecue of the year. Nice day, a couple of the kids. So I got some hot dogs, a little chicken, and we turn on the grill that's been there for 25 years, the same Weber grill. It's been knocking for years and years and years. We turn it on, and we're grilling away, and then we start to see like some flames, and it's very strange that we're seeing flames. So like, okay, barbecue grills, sometimes you get like a nice some oil, and all of a sudden the whole thing goes on fire. We had a thing of water, we poured it out, it was like fire flying everywhere. It wasn't normal. It like basically melted the bottom part that was feeding it gas and everything. So I'm like, okay, the Seder, okay, plan A doesn't work. We take all the half-cooked food and we put it into the oven. Baruch Hashem, a nice digital oven that's been working for 3-4 years, pretty new, and we turn it on to broil. Nothing's going on. It's like 100 degrees. So I'm like, okay, so play with it again and again. The thing is broken. So okay, I'm like, okay, so I found some pan. I start cooking everything up. I tried to salvage. We made it happen just in the nick of time. That's why I'm a little late. But the nikuda is that if I was running the show, the grill would have worked. Everything would have been on time. I would have been exactly on time. The kids would have been sleeping already. Everything would have been perfect. HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, sometimes you see, why, I brought this, and then I met this guy and I made $1 million, gewaldig. But often you don't see the $1 million, you don't see what happened, but miloi, from all the no's that HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, yeah, you think that's going to work? No. Oh, you think that's going to work then? No. HaKadosh Baruch Hu is saying, miloi, I fill the earth. I don't have any delusions that I feel I didn't do that, because if it was up to me, I wouldn't do it. There's HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there's a Boy Olam that says, I don't know, he knows exactly what he's doing, and he's telling us, and really the deepest love is that he's just telling us, I exist. Take it easy. I have everything under control. Everything is good. You just keep flowing with me and recognizing that I'm in control, and that's the greatest goodness that you could possibly get. So that was just a thought from this idea of Lashon Histaklis, that we're always gazing, we're always looking. Not necessarily we're always going to find that seichel in the sense that we're going to understand every single thing in the world. But we're going to find the deepest seichel, which is that there's a Kadosh Baruch Hu, there's a Eibishter. Now the Rebbe ends off with one of the bunch of Torahs in the beginning of Likutei Moharan. He's going to go through the Rabbi Bar Bachanas, which are these extremely esoteric, mystical, far out Gemaras of Rabbi Bar Bachanan and Baba Basra. And my kids just got a kid's book with these Rabbi Bar Bachanan stories all written out, and in the book they made it sound like they're all dreams. But I once said this, I was eating by Chaim Kramer's Gesundenstark, and someone said that all these things are all just they're not real. He pulled out a Nedarim or somewhere, and he looked up at a Marsha, and he just showed him that their Marsha holds that you have to learn all these kipshutai. But either way, the Rebbe is learning them up as what they mean, but then he's expounding upon them and showing you deeper depths of what these Gemaras could be referring to. That's one Nakuda. Another Nakuda is that, from what I understood in the Rabbi in Breslov, is that every single time the Rebbe brings down these stories and these psukim afterwards, there's always an addition. Meaning he's proving the Torah that he learned till now in amazing ways, but you're always going to find an addition if you look deeply enough. And over here, it's very, very, very bolet. It's very, very clear what the additions are, and we're going to see that now when the Rebbe goes through this Gemara. So Rabbi Bar Bachanan says like this: Hi Gala. Then these stories are mamish like Disney. They're out of this world. Hi Gala de mitaba lesfinta. There was a wave. We were going on a ship. Many of these stories are on ships, and there was this massive tidal wave that was threatening to sink the ship. And mitchazik hitzutzisa, it seemed like it was like a spark, the nura chivarta, with a fire that was white at its head, bereisha, on its head. Now, Pirush Rashbam, the Rebbe adds in the Rashbam over here. The Rashbam is the Pirush on this Gemara in Bava Basra. Eish levana u'malach maziku. The Rebbe is not just adding in Pirush just to have the Pirush, but he brings this into the whole explanation of the Torah, which is quite unbelievable that he's explaining this Torah based on the Gemara with the Pirush of the Rashbam. So what did Rabbi Bar Bachanan do? There was this huge wave that was about to deluge the ship. So they took a stick that had engraved on it Ekya Asher Ekya, which is HaKadosh Baruch Hu's name in Shemais, and they beat the wave, and the wave went down, and they were saved. Wild, great, amazing story. Great little clip to do. What does it mean? So now the Rebbe is going to explain. Gala hua Yetzer Hara. So he says the Gala is the Yetzer Hara. This is referring to the pasuk that he brought down in the beginning, where he spoke about the Malchus or Shah, Malchus, kingship, but it's from the side of evil. They explain with the pasuk, Lo yachbetz kasil besvuna in Mishlei, The fool does not desire wisdom. He doesn't desire to understand things. He just, whatever his heart is feeling, whatever his heart is misgaleh, whatever his heart is showing right now, I want to eat, I want to sleep, everything, that's what it is. So the gale is just whatever is revealed, the superficial feelings of whatever anyone's feeling without going any deeper. So that's the Yetzer Hara. The metabolist finta is threatening to sink the ship. What is the ship? Sfinta hu achein v'chashivus. Lashon sofan v'chashav. Something that's hidden, something that's very hidden is something that's chashav, right? The gold and the silver are in Fort Knox. They're not hanging out in the streets. Hanging out in the streets is less stuff. So anything that's really hidden is really chashav. So over here he's saying that it was coming. The Yetzer Hara wants to sink and to throw down this aspect of chen and chashivas, like he started off in the Torah, b'chinas malchus l'kedusha. Malchus l'kedusha of holy malchus, that you're looking to see what's deeper, what's really going on, and not just grabbing whatever you feel like. That the Yetzer Hara is always trying to overwhelm. Now he explains, it looks like this white fire, a fire with a white tip. What does that mean? In the beginning, Yetzer Hara doesn't just come to a guy, he's sitting and learning, and he's davening, and he's erlich, and he's gevaldig, and he says, what are you doing? Just go have a beer and hang out. What are you sitting in Bais Medrash? He comes and he says, you need a break right now. You've been learning for so long. It's going to be a big tailus if you go out and have a few cookies and some Coke and hang out with the boys and have a cigarette. It'll refresh you. He comes with mitzvahs and he says it's a mitzvah to do it. Even though, really, where you were holding, you could have gone for another 5-10 minutes, even another 2 minutes. But the Yetzer Hara comes in and he says it's a mitzvah to stop. It's a mitzvah to go do something else. He mislabish, like the famous line on him, it's a mitzvah to speak Lashon Hara. On such a shmantz. The point is that he comes with mitzvahs. And that's why, what does this mean? So the Rashbam explained, Eish Levana, it's a white fire. So fire is Geshmak, the thing we always speak about, the passion, you have to have passion to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's Levana, it's white is Chesed, so we're talking about a Geshmak, a fire that's white, but Afal Pichein Malach Mazaku, the Rashbam ends off, and he's reading mamish into every word of the Rashbam, Eish Levana, it's a white fire, so it seems like amazing, but umach mazaku, but it's not. It seems like a mitzvah. It's coming with all the dressings of a mitzvah, but it's the Yetzer Hara. That's an obvious addition that the Rebbe wasn't stressing before, that the Yetzer Hara always starts off with kind of seducing us in ways that we think that we're doing the right thing, and then messing us up. And in the story, Rabbi Bar Chana took a stick that was engraved with Ekya Shekia. What does this mean? Hainu. Like he explained in this Maimer, that the way to subjugate the Yetzer Hara is through the Torah. The Torah is, what is it? It's just the Shemais of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. This is something, you look in the footnotes, he brings down from around 20 sources. And the Rebbe speaks about this a lot in one of the Torahs that I was learning earlier this year. And it's that the Torah is basically one big shame of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But when you want to call someone, you call him by his name, and it's very beautiful because you can call someone by their name and they come right away, they come to you, the whole being comes to you because everything is encapsulated in the name of someone. But being that the Or Ein Sof of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so large, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu gave us a gift of the Torah. And the Torah, as in its totality, is one long 600,000 letter name of Hashem. But how do we access it? We learn by Hashem. We learn each word, each pasuk, each letter, and it makes sense. And we learn morals out of it, and we learn halachas out of it, and we see all sorts of beautiful things from the Torah. And that's the basic way that each time that we're saying this from Torah Nun Vav, each time that we say a word in the Torah and we learn it, we're basically taking a little microcosm of HaKadosh Baruch Hu's Ein Sof, which is Hashem's name, and we're calling Hashem. We're just saying Hashem, 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 Hashem. Every word that you say, you're saying HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It reminds me of a story that I just once randomly walked into Rabbi Scheiner. I thought I was coming for the Sichas Saran shir, but apparently I got the wrong night, and it was the Kabbalah shir. So I didn't understand one word that he was saying. The Ak and the Zach, he was going on and on with Shemus and Zachan, and it was all in the first 3 words of Shmoneh Esrei Baruch Atah Hashem. And he was going this and that and Shemus and Ilamis and everything. I was just listening and just looking at his face. It's beautiful, it's awesome, it's mechaya, the nefesh. And I didn't understand anything. At the end of the shir, there's a yid there that's always very like geschmack, and he's like very chepedik with the Rebbe. And he says, Rebbe, okay, so you told us that the Baruch Atah Hashem is this Olam and that Olam, but l'maisa, when we're saying Baruch Atah Hashem, what do we think? What do we say? What do we mean? So he smiled and he goes, Burich Eibishter, Ata Eibishter, Hashem Eibishter. Has every word that he says is just Hashem. We're speaking about Elamus and this, everything is just calling out to Hashem. So the Rebbe says over there in Torah and Vav that every single word of Torah, you're just saying Hashem, 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 Rebbeinu Shel Olam. You're just calling Hashem, but it's in ways that are small enough that you could absorb it, and then when you absorb more and more and more, you mamish get the tremendous level of connection through that. So that's what he's saying, that the Torah is kula shmoisa shel HaKadosh Baruch Hu, all shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Torah b'chinas Vav. So that's nice. The Torah is shemus of Hashem, but the Torah is also an aspect of a vav. Why? So the first thing is ki aluchos arkan vav v'rachim vav. Luchos, it says in the Gemara, was 6 tfachim by 6 tfachim, contrary to all of the 10 commandments that are these big rectangular rounded luchos. The luchos were square. They were arkan vav v'rachim vav. They were 6 by 6. So they have this element of vav that's in their size. V'zeh b'chinas alvasa. In the story of Rabbi Bar Chani, he took an alvasa stick, Hainu makles, which is sticks. So Hainu shemus, it had engraved in it shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu b'chinas HaTorah, like we said, that it was the Torah is shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and it's also vav, she b'chinas vav. Vav hu tzuras makal. Now again, it's all spinning around the same idea. There's vav, because the luchos were vav. The Torah is shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and this stick also vav hu tzuras makal. A vav, the letter vav is like a stick. Like a little stick, you hold on to it. So the vav, the Torah is all shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. We said before that this huge wave that was coming to sink the ship was actually the Yetzer Hara was trying to overcome the chen and the chashivas of Klal Yisrael. So how do you get rid of that? How do you beat that? Only through the Torah HaKadosh. Here's the Rebbe is adding another huge idea. He's saying the Yetzer Hara, we have to be mechniim through the Torah. What is the Yetzer Hara trying to do to every Yid? He uses this beautiful lashon. The Yetzer Hara is coming to make man mamish crazy, just totally mentally retarded when the Yetzer Hara gets into a person. The famous line that Reb Nosson said, he said that I never met anyone normal until I met Reb Nachman. People were like, until you met Reb Nachman? Reb Nachman was the least normal human being that anyone ever saw. I mean, he was talking about someone that, fasted from Shabbos to Shabbos. And when he got older, he did this from 4 in the morning till 9 at night straight, crying. And then, he would sit by Kiddush sometimes for 3 hours in Dvekas. Like Reb Nachman was revealing Torah, like Reb Nachman was normal. And he explained, yeah, because the Rebbe says over here that anyone who has a Yetzer Hara is mentally insane. Like he says over here, the next line, like it says in the Gemara, Kamesh Kasav, Ki ba'aver hu mishuga. He's mamish crazy. Kamesh Amar Basin Zechon Avacha. Ein adam oyer v'aver. Elam ken nechnas beruach shtus. You have Shaul HaMelech was a huge tzaddik, and he was running after David HaMelech to kill him. And then after the whole story, and it says beferish in Pesukim, he got nichnas beruach shtus. He's got this crazy ruach shtus, crazy Yetzer Hara to kill David HaMelech. And afterwards, it says that you have to believe that he's a huge tzaddik. So every single person has this. That's what Reb Nosson was saying. Reb Nachman had very, very little, if anything. He was normal. Didn't have a Yetzer Hara. Everyone else, we're all mamish a little crazy, varying degrees. So he's saying that the Yetzer Hara makes a person crazy, mamish crazy. Now, so he's going to explain how that has to do with what we were saying. This is a very interesting line, just like, at least for sure in the 1800s. If I mentioned this line on my breast chat today and yesterday, and the Olam was a little bit up in arms, and they said basically he's talking about genuinely crazy or criminal psychotic people. That the only way to deal with psychotic people that are mamish, that could kill people and things like that, you have to put them in straitjackets and lock them away. Also in olden days they would have people that would be possessed with d-books and things like that, and they had to use all sorts of incantations, amulets and stuff like that. I don't think you see it as much today, but the idea is that they would beat them shtickle to make sure that they recognize that what they're doing is insane, wrong, and they can't do it, and they would put shemus on them. So to the Torah is an aspect of sticks, like we explained. It was vav is a stick, Arkan Vav, Rachman Vav, Shemais, and it was all Kulay Shemais of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It was all Shemais of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. With this, Makinu Machniyan as Yetzer Hara, we beat and we subjugate the Yetzer Hara, Umegurshim in Adam as Shigoya, and Varuach Shtus Shenichnas Bay. And you can get rid of all this insanity that has entered into us, into a man. Right? It was basically that the stick had Eki Asher Eki. What does that mean? It had Shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, meaning it was the stick in the Nimshal is the idea of having the Torah, which is Kula Shemus of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to beat down and to extricate the Yetzer Hara from within. Just to bring that Nakuda out maybe in a way that's slightly more palpable for nowadays. Sense of a stick and to put Shemus and stuff, if you want to put it down to more of like today's day and age. So there is, I would understand it that when a person is doing an Avera, when a person feels that desire to do an Avera, so the first thing is you have to beat them with a stick. You have to be strict. You have to have boundaries. And you have to say, listen, I know that right now you're feeling like you want to do this, just try not to do it. You have to, let's say they had a guy with filters on the phone, filtering your phone. Do everything you can to make sure that you're protected and that you're not going to fall into this thing and you're not going to have the test. And even when you're having the test, just try not to do it. There was a famous story, I think it has a little bit to do with it, with the Turkey prince, the famous story from Nachman that the prince of the king became crazy and went naked under the table pecking at the crumbs under the table, and he said he's a turkey. And so everyone came and they had all the psychologists and psychiatrists and the magicians and everyone. No one could heal the turkey prince. He was a turkey, until one advisor said, just listen to what I say, follow my orders, and it's going to seem crazy, but just listen to me. And he got naked himself and he went under the table pecking away just like the prince. So the prince looks up after a while and goes, what in the world are you doing here? Are you crazy? He says, what are you doing here? He says, I'm a turkey. He says, I'm also a turkey. So, okay. So no, they were turkeys. They were having a great time pecking away. At a certain point, he points that he should get his underwear. So he puts on his underwear, and then Turkey Prince goes, what are you doing? He goes, what? I can't be a turkey and wear underwear. Okay. So the Turkey Prince also put on underwear, and so on and so forth. He got dressed. Finally, they were dressed. Finally, he sat at the table. Each time he would say, what? Turkey can't sit at the table. The Nakuda was that eventually he was totally healed. He was an insane turkey, but he was sitting at the table like a mensch, acting like a prince again. What's the Nakuda? Nakuda is that there's ways to bring normalcy, even though we might be crazy, we might be doing crazy things in crazy times, but there are ways that we can bring the stick. Like I think the Baal HaTanya says that to tie us with cords of tremendous love. The stick also could be love. When a person is filled with chiyas and energy and love, so that also has a tremendous kayach. They say that the taiva for nashim is corroborated with the taiva for learning Torah. And when a person learns a Torah that they really enjoy, that they get a chiyas from, so that breaks all the taiva. So whenever you have all these things, we always have something that we can hopefully beat with a stick. The other idea, l'asum aleim shemas, is that shemas is also names. That also when a person is faced with a taiva, often it very much helps just to name it. Right? A person's angry. So they're angry. They're not thinking that they're angry. They're just angry. This guy, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to sometimes when you just sit there and you go into a quiet place and you say, what's going on now? I am angry. Why am I angry? I'm angry at that guy. And you speak out. Just what's going on. Name it. I am, do something crazy right now. Why? Sometimes you realize that you're hungry or you're tired. Or when you speak it out, when you name it, when you have shemus on it, a lot of times, part of the whole diagnosis of psychiatry and psychology is that just find out what it is. When you have a diagnosis, you see what it is, and already you could start to fix it and heal it. Or just even sometimes just speaking it out to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that I'm just filled with this taiva right now. I can't do anything about it, Hashem. It says a pasuk in Tehillim, Lamed Beis, which is in one of the Tikkun HaKlalis, Chatasi adiacha v'vaynu lachis, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, I tell you my chatas, Amarti oida alef shay. I'm just going to say it out. V'ata nasas avayin chatasi sela. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to take it upon yourself. Very often, I found that you be filled with something that's overwhelming you, and you just sit in a quiet place and you say, Hashem, this thing, I have no control over. I can't. It's even one of the 12 steps. I have zero control over it. I'm just giving myself up to you. I don't. But you speak it out. You clarify what it is, and you just give it up to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He takes off, that's HaKadosh Baruch Hu takes it off your shoulders a lot. Just to finish off the Torah, the Rabbi now brings it back to the pasuk that he began. Ashrei Tamimei Darach, Ashrei Lashon Istaklos. Like he said, Shur is Lashon Istaklos, to gaze, to stare. Tamimei Darach, B'chinas Yaakov Ishtam. Tamimei Darach is this Yaakov, B'chinas Asecha Kanal, and Elizkis Listakal Al Asecha Sheish B'chol Davar, to look, to gaze at this Pnimius of everything. Shehu B'chinas Yaakov Ishtam. Zezoichin Al Yidei Torah. The next part of that pasuk, we're going to speak about the Torah. Those who go in the Torah of Hashem, through learning Torah with strength. Like we said, it gives strength to the Nun, the Malchus, the Holy Malchus, so that it can connect with the Ches, the Seichel, this creates Schein, and then when you speak to people and to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, your words go in because they have Schein, and this brings up the Chashivas and the Schein of Klal Yisrael, all the Tefillos and Bakashis are getting in Skabel. Just to end off with a quick story, with the 2 minutes that we have, there was a king that was in a forest dressed as a peasant, and he got captured by the bandits, and the bandits robbed him, and they wanted to kill him because now they didn't know who it was, but now he knew who they were, where they were. So he said, I need to think quickly. He said, I'm going to tell them something. He said, it's not worth it to kill me. I can make tapestries, tremendously unbelievable tapestries, and you'll get profit. So he said, what do you have to lose? Give me a tapestry. They give it to the king, and he weaves and sews and sews and weaves for like 2 days. They come back, and they see this tapestry. It's like pretty shvachamaisis. They're like, this is what you have? He goes, you guys are connoisseurs. You know anything about tapestries? He says, go to the shuk. Bring it to Shuk. And they're also going to say, like, you fools, that's nothing. Wait till you get a guy. They're going to say it's $10, $1,000. Don't go under $1,000 for this thing. When a guy gives you $1,000, you know that he's someone that chaps how gavaldig this tapestry is. And see, maybe he even wants more. They went to the shuk and it caused an uproar. Everyone was like, what is this? Meshuggah selling a tapestry that's worth $10 for $1,000. There was a yid walking by and he said, something's going on. What's that? He said, where'd you get this tapestry from? They said, what do you care? He looked at it and he saw that there was a letter intricately woven inside of it, like hidden, but you could see it. He says, I'll take it for 1,000. Gevaldig. You have any more? Yeah, we can bring you. They started to bring him every day, every couple of days, tapestries. Finally, after many, many days, he realized, Kaka, it was a message, I am the king. And he went to the palace. They coordinated, and eventually the king hinted to them exactly where he was. They came and they saved the king. The king said, what can I repay you with? Anything in the kingdom? He said, what do you repay with? I saved the king's life. What do I need a reward for saving the king's life? He said, okay, I understand. Your reward will be that anytime you need anything, you and all your children have access to the palace. You just walk in, say who you are, and you got it. So that was the story. I think a nimshal could be very easily nimshal to understand, and based very much on this Torah that we were learning, is that we have the Torah Kedosha, and the Torah we see it's worth more than alfei alafim of dinarim and zav. It's the most expensive thing, and yet if you look at it, it's very nice. It's got laws. It's got some nice stories. There's a lot of books that have nice stories. A lot of law books that have a lot of laws. Like, what is it? And they're selling it for thousands and thousands of dollars. Elamai, there's something hidden. If a yid chaps that there's something hidden inside, that there's HaKadosh Baruch Hu hidden inside, that's hinting to him, not only that there's laws and rules, but he's saying, hi, I am here, and he's showing you where exactly he is. Eventually, you're going to chap, when you learn it in that view, so seichel sheish b'chol davar, you're going to see, really, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is there, and the whole time he's just saying where he is. And eventually you'll find HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and then HaKadosh Baruch Hu is going to say, what do you want for a reward? You're going to say, what, I want a reward? I found Hashem. What reward do I need? Hashem is going to say, you got the Torah Hashem, Hashem, you chap this. The reward is, Niskablim kol ha'tfilas v'chol bakashos, anytime you want, you can have pure access to me with a connection. Hashem should help, should be zeicha, shkoya. Zaku baruch.